Hey everybody, Julia here from Old Spool Sewing Studio, where I am the owner and lead sewing enthusiast. Today I want to talk about something that's really important to me, and I'm going to give you 5 actionable things that you can do to make your sewing and craft, but mostly sewing, practice a lot more eco-conscious and sustainable. These things are really important to me as a business owner. When I was opening Old Spool, I wanted to make sure that the buying decisions that I was making were good for the environment and good for the people involved. I buy a lot of stuff here at Old Spool, and I have a lot of potential to do good, but I also have a lot of potential to do bad. And what's the thing that Spider-Man says? You know, with great power comes great responsibility. But also, you have great power and great responsibility in choosing things that are better for our planet when you get into sewing. So here we go. Let's dive into the 5 actionable things that you can start to do right now to make your sewing and craft practice better. Number 1 is one of my favorite things because I believe in supporting the entire supply chain when it comes to my sewing practice, and that's buying organic and fair trade things. So what does organic mean? I mean, we know what it is when we talk about our fruits and veggies, and that means that they're not sprayed with pesticides and herbicides and everything, but that shouldn't just apply to the things that we consume, like in our mouths. It should also apply to the things we consume with our sewing practice. Cotton starts life as a plant, and cotton farms are large portions of our country here in the United States and in other parts of the world. It's actually one of our largest exports here in the United States. And when cotton is farmed conventionally, it soaks up so much water and so much pesticides and herbicides that are bad for the soil and the planet and the groundwater and the people who farm it. So when you can, I highly recommend buying organic cotton, because organic cotton means, first off, that there are no herbicides and pesticides used in the growing of that crop, which also means that it uses less water. And when things use less water, that's better for the environment, especially in places where water is actually not a readily available resource. Also, when things are grown organic and that they are organic certified, that means that the people involved in the process, like the farmers and the pickers and the people who process cotton into the next phase, they're all treated fairly and they're not being exposed to harsh chemicals and just terrible things. It's so sad to think, but in India, there's actually a really high suicide rate for cotton farmers because they dump chemicals onto all of their crops, and then they don't really get a lot of money for the things that they're growing. But instead of being doom and gloom, I just want to reinforce that when you can, buying organic is amazing. It's not just about what you're putting on your body, it's about the whole supply chain and our planet. I'm just gonna pull out my notebook here and give you a little factoid. Your average jeans that you go to the store and buy use 9,910 gallons of water to be grown. Whoa. As opposed to if you were to buy something that's made with organic cotton, 932. That's a 9,000 gallon difference, guys. That's huge, especially in places where water is limited. Also, in general, organic cotton uses around 88% less water to be grown. That is huge, because one of the biggest things that's wasteful in our fashion industry and the fabric industry is water. We use a lot of it. Numero dos, or number 2, is trying to avoid polyfill when you are stuffing your pillows and stuffed animals. We make a whole lot of pillows and stuffed animals here at Old Spool. It is kind of everybody under the age of 18's favorite thing to do is make a stuffed animal. We make stuffed owls, narwhals, so many stuffed animals, llamas, cactuses, sloths. It's fun to make a stuffed animal all the time, over and over again, every day. And I hate the thought of stuffing them with plastic, because that's what polyfill is. The poly part of polyfill is polyester, and polyester is plastic. And they're also a bunch of microfilaments, which means they're all teeny tiny little wispy bits of polyester. If it doesn't go in your pillow, it's going out into the world, and that's a no-go. So what I recommend is, first off, looking for nature fill and various natural based fibers, things like bamboo fill and corn fill. Those are both made from renewable resources. Bamboo and corn you can grow again year after year. Now, there's a lot to be said about how sustainable it is to grow a crop crop like that, and corn actually isn't so great in large swaths, but those are both better than using Polyfill, because also corn plastic, it's gonna biodegrade. You ever get a cup of coffee or anything like that and your smoothie has the little like corn plastic cup? Means one day it's gonna go away. That plastic polyester fiber fill that you're using will never disappear. Dum dum dum. Also, I really love, and I'm gonna plug it in the description below, this company called FabScrap, and I'm gonna mention them again in a moment, but FabScrap is based in New York City, and what they do is not only take fabric from local garment factories, but they take the stuff that can't get resold and they break it down into something that they call Shoddy, and Shoddy is literally recycled plastic and fabrics that can't be used anywhere else, and they sell it by the half pound. I buy bulk of it, guys. I literally buy 40 pounds at a time. So I highly recommend checking out FabScrap and ordering some Shoddy. It's not the prettiest stuff, but it really does the job when you break it up, and it feels better knowing that your pillow project isn't hurting the environment. Number 3 on the ways that you can be more sustainable in your sewing practice is being more mindful about how you cut out your projects. Seems simple, right? Whenever you start a new project, there's always going to be cutting layouts given on your fabric. We see this a lot in garment projects and in craft projects too, but sometimes following that layout isn't always the most sustainable. Also, my least favorite thing in the world is when young kids come in and they haven't been taught to be mindful about how they use their materials, and they need to cut a circle, and they cut that circle out of the center of a piece of fabric. Oh my God, it drives me crazy, because you just wasted so much fabric, as opposed to if you cut something out closer to the edge, you save so much more fabric. And isn't that really what we want? More fabric? I always want more fabric. So also in that realm, 3 gets a 3A and a 3B. 3B is when you are sewing, always save your scraps. Saving your scraps gives you so much opportunity to make more projects. I save even the smallest shred of fabric here at Old Spool, because even the tiniest little stuff will one day get stuffed inside a project, because if I'm using recycled fabric, I might as well recycle my own fabric too. Also, anything that's as big as your hand can get turned into a different project. Look up things like crumb piecing in quilting and strip piecing. Hey, I have a scraptastic sewing project on my channel that you can make your very own strip pieced pillow just from scraps. It's amazing. Number 4 is to use wool in replacement for acrylic yarns and polyester things. So wool comes from an animal. Anybody know what animal it comes from? Yep, comes from a sheep. So wool is naturally biodegradable. It is a better quality fiber than polyester. For decades, the chemical industry has been trying to make fibers, like the things that we make our clothes out of, that mimic wool. And I'm gonna tell you what, they've never managed to come even close to how amazing wool is. Wool is better because it biodegrades. Wool is better because it comes from a sustainable source. Sheep need to get sheared. So, I mean, we might as well use their fleece and do some cool stuff with it, right? I do a lot of beginner hand sewing projects using felt here at the studio. And one of the earliest things I didn't do was make the change to wool or wool blend felts. What does wool or wool blend felt mean? Well, wool means that it's 100% wool, and wool blend means it's blended with something else. Usually I like to look for the ones that are blended with rayon. It gives it a nicer hand, and it's expensive to make stuff completely out of wool, so if you can blend it, it makes it a little bit more affordable. Unfortunately, this is a very tricky thing for some people to make the switch in, because wool felt is a little bit more expensive. I mean, I think you can buy polyester felt from the craft store for like 85 cents a sheet, and wool felt might be twice that. But you know what? I think it matters so much more to save the planet than to save money. Also, wool makes an excellent substitute in stuffing all of your projects. This is another place where it's really not much more affordable than the other alternatives I talked about earlier, but oh boy, that wool pillow will be extra cozy. Alrighty, last but not least, number 5 is to thrift and shop secondhand for your materials. Now, this is a tricky one. We live in the world of instant gratification here. You can pop on Amazon, sorry, I have a bad taste in my mouth about Amazon. But you can hop on Amazon and you can get exactly what you want delivered to your door the next day. There is no waiting, there is no getting in the car and doing something or asking mom and dad to bring you to the craft store. You can get it immediately. But there's something to be said about that. We're not being conscious consumers when we shop at craft stores and places like that where we buy new and buy what we can get immediately. If you take a little bit of time to start checking secondhand shopping websites such as Mercari or Facebook or eBay, or even going to your local thrift shops, you will find a plethora of amazing, amazing materials that you can use to make your next project. Now, you might be asking, Jewel, but I really wanted to make this thing out of this bright red fabric that I saw at the store. Well, maybe you can think about using what you have or shopping secondhand and dyeing it or painting it. Or, I mean, there's like a whole bunch of stuff you can do with what you have or what you can buy secondhand as opposed to going to the store. I also think it is so much more creative to see what your options are within that realm of buying secondhand or using what you have and making something new from that instead of just going and getting exactly what you need in exactly the color you need. Because I mean, like, that's kind of the easy way out, isn't it? Gotta mention FabScrap again though. If you're shopping secondhand and you're a garment sewist or you're looking to get into making your own clothes, FabScrap and Etsy and all these different secondhand sites are so great to find things like dead stock fabric, vintage fabric, fabric that might be slightly flawed in some ways but still really awesome to use. So I highly recommend checking out those websites. A lot of their information is in my description below. All right, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed these 5 actionable things that you can do right now to make your sewing practice better. My name is Julia. If you have any questions, please reach out. I really hope that you would hit that like button for this video to show me that you actually give a crap about the environment. And if you would, I would love if you subscribe to my channel. I'm having a wonderful time making videos, and seeing as my business is normally in-person sewing lessons and we have all been quarantined for a few weeks, this is what I got, guys. So I really appreciate all of your love and support. I hope you have a great day and happy stitching.